Bonsoir French students, bienvenue au vidéo 8 du chapitre 5, les vêtements. So what we'll be talking about this time, I think you can guess very easily by the pictures. And you might see the connection from this word vêtements to the English word vestments. I'm not sure if you've heard this somewhere before, but I mean, at the least, you know the word vest, right? Which is a piece of clothing, of course. It's something that you would probably, like a sleeveless jacket almost. And vestment, I know it's also used in the Catholic Church to talk about the robes that the priest might wear. So you can kind of see the historical connection between the English and the French word here, which I always think is really interesting. So, les vêtements, we're going to be talking all about clothes. All right, des questions importantes, important questions. Qu'est-ce que vous mettez pour aller en cours? Okay, mettez, what does this come from? It's going to come from the verb mettre. And that verb is to put. So it's just like English, talking about putting on your clothes. So every morning I'm going to put on some clothes to go somewhere, right? So vous mettez is just the vous form of this verb. And you'll see the different ways to conjugate it. Right here we have je mets souvent. Okay, I put often. In English we'd probably say I often put. And in French here too, we see je mets parfois, so I put sometimes. I might say in English, I sometimes put. The word order changes a little bit. Or ce matin, j'ai mis. And so here we see a passé composé form. Okay? J'ai mis is the conjugated form of avoir plus the past participle mis. Now, if you're ever wondering, okay, how do I conjugate this verb? There's no conjugation chart for this here. So maybe a good way to look that up is to go to a website like verbix.com. So if you don't know about Verbix, it's basically just an online conjugation dictionary. It's very useful. And so I can type in the verb in, let's see, we want to go to French specifically. So let's see, I'm just going to try typing that in here. Mettre, yeah, it comes up. Or is it just going to be... Okay, it actually just wants to give us Spanish. Ah, there we go. Yeah, so we need to choose our language first. Get rid of the add. I'm going to type in the verb that I want to do my conjugation for. And it will come up with all the forms that I need. I remember when I was in college years ago, I used to have a big book that was called like 501 French verbs or something. It was this big clunky conjugation book. And those could still be useful if you like having something paper in your hands. But this website is awesome because you can conjugate verbs in tons of different languages. And it tells you the infinitive form, mettre, it tells you the present participle, mettant, like putting, and then mis, which would be put. In English, we have the same form for both present and past. And so if I'm looking at the present, it's going to be je mets, tu mets, il, elle, on met. Then the il or elle form, the s is dropped. Nous mettons, vous mettez, ils mettent. Okay, and the passé composé, as we just saw, j'ai mis, tu as mis, il a mis, nous avons mis, vous avez mis, ils ont mis. Okay, and all the other verb tenses if you needed them by chance. Okay, so back to our vêtements. So, qu'est-ce que vous mettez pour aller en cours? So, what do you put on to go to class? Okay, pour sortir le soir, to go out in the evening. Okay, so I can look at all the different clothes that I have to choose from here, and I can answer some of those questions, right? I can say, je mets souvent un jean pour aller en cours. Je mets souvent une robe pour aller en cours. C'est vrai? Do you really put on a dress every day to go to class? Probably not. Or une chemise et une cravate, a shirt and tie? Probably not so often. Okay, pour sortir le soir, peut-être oui, je mets une robe. I put on a dress. Peut-être un chemisier, maybe like a blouse or a nice button-up shirt. Or peut-être une jupe. Okay, so those are some different options of things that I can put on if I'm going out in the evening. Je mets parfois un pull. Okay? En hiver, je mets un pull. In the winter, I put a sweater on, of course. Okay, so I'm going to give you the chance to say what you often or what you sometimes wear to go to class or to go out in the evening. You can choose. So you can either answer the question about going to class in the morning, or you can say what you put on to go out in the evening. And you can say either je mets souvent or je mets parfois. So if I was going to create an example, I would say quand je vais en cours, je mets souvent un pull. Okay, so when I go to class, I often put on a sweater. Okay, I can also talk about what I did this morning. So, ce matin, j'ai mis un pantalon. So, this morning I put on some pants. Ce matin, j'ai mis des bottes. So, if the weather is wet or it's really cold, maybe snowy, I could say ce matin, j'ai mis des bottes. Au printemps, j'ai mis des sandales. So, in the spring, I put on sandals. Or ce matin, j'ai mis un polo or un t-shirt. Okay, so you can say what you put on this morning. Okay, and a few other items that we can look at here. So we have an anorak, which would be like a windbreaker or sort of like a light rain jacket. An imperméable, which definitely would be a rain jacket, and you can see the connection to English there. Impermeable, meaning like water can't get through the material. Let's see, un manteau, so a coat, something a little bit warmer. Un maillot de bain ou un bikini. Quand je vais à la plage, je mets un maillot de bain ou un bikini. Okay, so when I go to the beach, of course, I'm going to put one of those on. Quand il pleut, when it rains, j'utilise un parapluie. I probably wouldn't say je mets in that case because I'm not putting it on myself, I'm using one of them. Okay, un sac ou un portefeuille. A sac is just a purse. Portefeuille, feuille is like leaves. Porte is like to carry. So a wallet is kind of like something you do to carry leaves. The leaves would refer to the pieces of paper that are your cash. So kind of interesting to see how words are put together. Je mets une montre avant d'aller en cours. So I put a watch on before I go to class, maybe. Or finally, quand je vais à la plage, j'utilise ou je mets des lunettes de soleil. So I use some sunglasses. Okay, so these are kind of specialty clothes, vêtements, that I would use in situations that are specific. So for certain weather conditions and different seasons, things like that, accessories. All right, going back and looking at some of these clothes here, I can also go through these and pronounce them just so you get used to how they are said. Okay, so we can say un jean, and this is definitely a word borrowed from English. Un short, another English borrowed word. Un pantalon. So we have two nasal vowels there that we need to pay attention to. Pantalon. En and on. Pantalon. Une jupe, so a skirt, and be careful of the French U sound there. Une jupe. Un pull, kind of the same situation there with the U sound. Un polo ou un t-shirt. So we have shirts, short sleeve shirts, slightly different styles. Une chemise et une cravate, like a button-up shirt and tie. Un chemisier would be more like a blouse. Un survêtement would be like the kind of, I guess, almost like a snowsuit. Une robe would be a dress. Un costume, this could be kind of like a false friend, a false cognate. A costume is going to be a men's suit, not a costume. And then des chaussures, shoes. Des baskets are basketball shoes specifically. Des bottes, we talked about just a little while ago. Des sandales ou des tongs would be the shoes that you would want to use in summertime. So we might call these flip-flops or slides these days. Okay, so that gives you some new vocabulary to consider about clothes. In one of the exercises on your upcoming exam, you'll definitely be talking about clothes that you wear to go to class in the morning. So there's a clue right there. So be sure that you've got a good handle on that vocabulary. Okay, so we have just, I believe, one more topic to cover before the end of chapitre 5. And I will see you all later this week for video 9. À la prochaine!